Welcome everyone to the 174th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Mariah Carey and Derek Jeter. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Madeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planets, signs, aspects, and birth times available house of relays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us twice a week, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Mariah's sun in Aries and Derek's sun in Cancer. They need to adjust to each other, and Mariah can learn compassion from Derek. Derek can learn independence from Mariah, and Mariah subconsciously accepts Derek's nurturing, which I believe at the time this was, I don't know the exact sort of timeline, but I think this was when she was still married to, Tommy Mottola, that Sony guy. So I know it was around that sort of time, and when she was trying to break out of that. So I wonder if maybe because, she was having a bit of a rough time in that marriage, maybe Derek was just a bit more of a nurturing person. She just subconsciously accepted that. Conflict between Mariah's independence and Derek's loyalty, which I feel could also be related to maybe Mariah wanting to break out of that, marriage that she had and everything. Wanting to be independent from that. Potentially Derek was someone who helped her, inspire her to get, be more independent and everything, which is interesting because we just saw how Derek can learn independence from Mariah. Mariah doesn't naturally give emotional substance to the relationship. Mariah's sun overlaid in Derek's 5th house. They have creative and fun dates, and Derek enjoys the admiration from Mariah. There's a desire to have children together. I'm not sure how serious they got or anything. I know it was obviously important, kind of important for Mariah and her music and everything, but I'm not sure how serious it was as such. Derek has great love for Mariah, and Mariah defines beauty according to Derek. Mariah may be overlooking Derek's flaws, and it's characterized by luck and pleasure. Mariah sees Derek as a source of pleasure. Again, not really surprising considering the context of the time. Derek's sun overlaid in Mariah's 2nd house. Marriage is not possible, which I probably should have looked at the exact timeline of it, because it is a bit funny with Mariah's marriage to Tommy, because it was a contractual marriage, but it wasn't a love match, you could call it. So I wonder, I don't know if they, met while she was still married, or while she was in process of getting divorced or something, but obviously it wasn't meant to be. Mariah is a valuable asset to Derek, and Mariah may feel used. I wonder why, because he's a baseball player. So, an athlete and musician, I'm not sure where that would overlap, but maybe we'll see a bit more. Mariah senses Derek wants something more. This makes me think, because we saw the desire to have children together, and from what we've seen from Mariah so far, she seems a bit more emotionally detached. I wonder if maybe Derek took this relationship a bit more seriously than Mariah, in this sort of way, this could be potentially my lifelong person and everything, have children with, all of that. Both may be working towards a common goal, and Derek sees Mariah as someone who can help him achieve goals. Their suns are squared together, so there's a love-hate and there's a lack of understanding. It seems with why they're in this relationship, there is a bit of lack of understanding. They both assume the role of leader, and competitiveness is a problem. They challenge the other to grow and develop, and they initially find each other charming and attractive. Mariah's sun opposite Derek's moon. There's a strong and mutual attraction, and their differences attract them. That is interesting. They are both drawn to the relationship, and Mariah may find Derek too dependent. There is a bit of clinginess to Derek, which it's a bit annoying that the differences attract them, because, it's not going to work out in the end, which I guess is why marriage was not possible. Derek may find Mariah overbearing. I wonder if that's Mariah or Tommy, because it was a bit of a rough divorce from what I remember listening about. It was a bit controlling on Tommy's end and everything, I'm pretty sure. So I wonder if maybe, I don't know, during that sort of whole time they were together with Tommy kind of being in the picture, that was the overbearing part, not necessarily Mariah. Mariah's sun is square Derek's Mercury. They have similar problem solving and they don't always see eye to eye. There's a lack of emotional satisfaction. I mean, we did see that Mariah doesn't give naturally emotionally, so potentially for Derek, he's not really emotionally satisfied. They challenge each other's perspectives, and there's a contrast in temperament and life goals. I feel like life goals seems to be a bit different so far. They find it difficult to discuss ideas, and they both need to respect the other's differences. I'm curious to see like how, I guess, in the end the differences will play out and like how they will be balanced, because so far we are seeing they have differences but it attracts them, and but we're also seeing it needs to be something respected. So I wonder if it is like, I guess you could, what's the best word for it, like not like a novelty, but I guess you could say novelty, like the difference is a novelty rather than something they genuinely like respect about the other. Derek sees Mariah as too self-centered. I don't blame him, I should say. But like seeing that how she subconsciously like accepts he's nurturing and everything, but seeing how she, subconsciously accepts he's nurturing, sees him as a source of pleasure, everything, it seems like that he was a bit of an escape, which, for, I guess it's neither good or bad, is it? Because, Mariah was suffering in her own way. So it is, but, obviously for Derek, I don't really blame him for being husband, self-centered, for being very selfish in this relationship, it seems like, rather than about him. Mariah sees Derek as too rational and emotionally detached. That's interesting. It could have been her initial impression, though, and that's why she was, pursuing this a bit more, but turns out not as emotionally detached. Mariah's Sun are Trine Derek's Mars. They are supportive of each other and they have healthy competitiveness. Neither feels blocked by the other. Mariah admires Derek's drive and courage, and they can deal with challenges together, which I see why this would have potentially been like a good relationship for them at the time, because they actually could deal with the challenges together, not necessarily more long-term things. They encourage the other's goals and visions, and Derek expresses his desire for Mariah frequently. They express themselves in a straightforward manner, and they both can rely on each other when they are demotivated. Which, again, this seems to be, it seems to be a temporary thing, doesn't it? Like a sort of thing that helps them in the moment. They're able to demotivate each other. They're able to motivate each other when they are demotivated and all of that. Mariah's Sun is square Derek's Saturn. Derek sacrifices his freedom in a way he does. I don't know. I guess, for a male, biologically, it's not like the craziest thing in the world to like sacrifice some time if you're wanting to have like kids and a family and all of that. But I assume it is in that context. Potentially he was like, sort of like taxi cab theory. He was like ready to settle down, have a family. And Mariah came along. I wonder if maybe in that way he feels like he sacrificed his like time and freedom. Mariah may outgrow Derek. Yeah, that kind of is what happened, isn't it? It seems like Mariah is too sensitive to criticism, and they both feel mature. They both attempt to support each other, and Derek tends to be too critical of Mariah. Derek feels blocked and discouraged by Mariah, and Mariah sees Derek as all the traditions she wants to overcome. She seems to be very sort of independent, I guess, like, representative of the like sun signs. You have Mariah and Aries, very like independent, very sort of forthright, is that the right word? Very prioritizing herself and everything, determined. And then you have Derek, who's a Cancer, a bit more sort of like family oriented, it seems like a bit more nurturing. They both need to really want this relationship to work, which I guess they didn't, because they're not together anymore. Now for the intermission, this video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the reading. Mariah's Sun trine Derek's Neptune. It's tolerant and forgiving, and it's a romantic and spiritual bond. Mariah strengthens Derek's ego, which I guess, it kind of makes sense because he seems to be very attracted to her, expresses his desire and everything. And if Mariah does fulfill that, I'm sure it would strengthen his ego a bit. They're attuned to each other's feelings, and Derek inspires Mariah to be creative. Yeah, she did make songs about him and everything, so I assume he was kind of like a muse to her in a way. Mariah's Sun opposite Derek's Pluto. It's a relationship of growth and it feels fated. I wonder how they met. It would have been very interesting, I feel like, with their meeting. I wonder if we'll see a bit more. It's a bond that is not easily broken, and they are both separated by distance. Mariah has the tendency to embarrass Derek, and Mariah uses Derek to boost herself in a negative way. I swear we saw this with Eminem's one. I feel like we did, which isn't, I guess, great. This could just be a subconscious habit of hers or whatever it is. But specifically in this context, I don't know how this would have played out because, I feel like her music about him, I don't feel like it was necessarily bad, was it, compared to Eminem, which that really was embarrassing and negative. So I wonder if maybe there is something I'm missing. Definitely let me know your insights if you're a fan of, her music and, this whole relationship. Derek's Sun square Mariah's Jupiter. They have different values. It seems like at the point they were together, yeah. They may overindulge each other, and excess is from good intention. There's a strong desire to make each other happy, and Mariah has the ability to cheer up Derek. I don't feel like this is a bad relationship. It seems like they both seem to like each other, want to make each other happy. It's just in a long-term way, this obviously did not work for a reason, and I'm not surprised with what we're reading. They both may expect too much from the relationship. I feel like this is more on Derek's end than anyone else. They both encourage each other to self-indulge and be impractical. I wonder, because you would think in the context of this would be a bit more like Derek encouraging it with Mariah, because, obviously self-indulging, impractical, very obvious with her circumstances at the time. Not very practical to be kind of effectively, stepping out on someone very powerful and everything. Again, probably should have looked up the exact, if they were technically married or separated. Even then, it's a bit of a risky move for Mariah. Derek's Sun is square Mariah's Uranus. It's not predictable or stable, and separation occurs and causes strain. Mariah feels trapped by Derek over time. This, if she genuinely felt this way, this must have sucked. But, it doesn't seem like it's as bad as, a Tommy situation. From what we're reading so far, it seems like Derek just wanted, family life and everything and to settle down, whereas Mariah seems to be quite interested in being independent and everything, and not very traditional. So I imagine it's more in that way rather than anything more negative. The relationship can start and end suddenly, and they cannot rely on each other in the long term. Not surprisingly so. Derek grows tired of Mariah's inconsistency, and Mariah changes and challenges Derek's life. Derek initially finds Mariah attractive and appealing. Yeah, I don't really blame him for kind of deteriorating away from this. Kind of makes sense, So now it's time for Moon. We have Mariah's Moon in Cancer and Derek's Moon in Libra. These are both cardinal signs. They please each other and confrontation is avoided. That is, I guess it's not the end of the world, is it? Because it really doesn't feel like it was meant to be this long-term relationship where they should be dealing with the issues and all of that. There's a difference in priorities, not surprisingly so. And Mariah may fall into being Derek's parent. That's interesting. Mariah's Moon overlaid in Derek's 8th house. Derek can go deep into Mariah's psyche, and Derek can awaken Mariah's inner demons. I wonder if maybe, because we haven't really seen a whole lot with their meeting, I wonder if maybe they met in a sort of more innocent context and everything. And that is how, things got started potentially. Derek really inspired Mariah to be more independent and all of that. So I wonder if maybe it was more of a subtle thing over anything else. Mariah will desire things in this relationship that are taboo. I mean, the whole, kind of, cheating on the very big, successful man that's very powerful and all of that. I feel like that would lean towards being a bit more taboo than not. They both act out fantasies together, which I feel like this will be, again, related to a bit more Mariah potentially having like a taste of freedom and maybe like a bit more of a normal relationship, because these two are a bit more of like a similar age. I'm pretty sure her and Tommy were like massive age gaps, so potentially, she wanted a bit more of like a so-called normal relationship. There's a deep connection and it's an emotionally nurturing relationship. Possibility for them to come back after a separation. I don't know if they ever had an on and off dynamic while they were like together, so to speak. I don't think they've been like in contact, as far as I know, for a long time. I don't think anything has happened. It was kind of like a thing of the 90s, wasn't it? Like when the whole divorce happened and all of that. Like very early in Mariah's career. Desire for the other is never satiated. Derek's moon overlaid in Mariah's 6th house. Derek has conflicting feelings towards Mariah. I'm not really surprised. Both are too helpful to each other. That kind of is what it seems like, particularly on Derek's end, being like very nurturing and open to Mariah. It can be beneficial working towards a mutual goal, and it's easy to create a resentful relationship. Yeah. Mariah's moon trine Derek's Jupiter. They have good fortune, and there's a possibility of being too excessive. They're happy in each other's presence, and adventure is important in this relationship. This is a very, I guess we've been seeing a lot of this so far, very, not luxurious, but very pleasure-oriented relationship. They're both very happy, they've go into excess with everything. It's fortunate and all of that. Honest communication is easy. In certain ways it seemed, but we did say the whole confrontation is avoided. I feel like that could potentially be just maybe around the sort of more long-term goals and all of that, because in that way they seem to be have their differences, but in other ways they do seem to be quite on the same page, wanting to make each other happy, nurture each other and all of that. Derek helps Mariah with her emotions, so I think that would have been a help to Mariah, particularly with her context at the time. Mariah's moon is square Derek's Uranus. The relationship can begin suddenly, and Mariah is possessive of Derek. Interesting. Mariah feels emotionally insecure around Derek. This is interesting. I wonder if maybe we'll see a bit more on that, because the only thing we've seen super negative is with Mariah feeling trapped over time. So I wonder, I don't know if she's a bit more emotionally scarred, you could say, because the stuff that she seemed to have gone through that relationship with Tommy is insane. So I wonder if potentially she was just scarred from that experience, and even maybe little things would set her off, things that would remind, things in Derek that reminded her of Tommy and all of that. I wonder if that led her to being emotionally insecure and everything, which led her to feeling trapped, if that makes sense. Derek's moon conjunct Mariah's Jupiter. It's easy to overdo and be excessive, and they have a positive influence as a couple. It's a relationship of opportunities and fortune. In a way, it was an opportunity for Mariah to, get out. So that's there. They need to learn balance, and they take risks as a couple. Again, probably should have looked up the exact timeline of everything, but, it is in that gray area of her being with Tommy and everything, which is a pretty big risk, I would say. Derek feels luckier and more adventurous around Mariah, and Mariah expands Derek's way of thinking about life. They support people in need. Derek's moon conjunct Mariah's Uranus. There's an instant attraction, and Mariah is dominant. In a way, she seems to be the more independent one, a bit more headstrong. Unpredictability makes long-term difficult, and it's an exciting meeting. Friends play a part in the meeting, so I assume that is how they met, through friends of some kind. They share an unusual lifestyle, and Mariah brings excitement to Derek. I'm not sure, I'm a record player, should have looked at the timeline. But I'm pretty sure Mariah was in this, I assume it would have been Derek, But she was, trying to escape and do, like, evade Tommy in very weird ways. Like, that was the kind of end, towards the end of that whole relationship and everything. So I guess, that would have been pretty unusual, I would say. But also, I guess, a bit exciting, particularly for Mariah and, escaping this thing. So I'm pretty sure it would be related to that whole period of her time. Derek sees Mariah as unreliable, and Derek creates an accepting atmosphere for Mariah, not surprisingly so. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Mariah's Mercury in Pisces and Derek's Mercury in Cancer. These are both water signs. They prioritize their feelings and emotions, and they nurture each other. We're seeing again. They are both invested in this relationship, and they understand the other's intuitive approach to life. It seems like, this wouldn't shock me. It just feels like how they follow their intuition and what their approach is, if that makes sense, in terms of life goals and everything. They are both sensitive and take things personally. Mariah's Mercury overlaid in Derek's 4th house. Derek's emotions are sensitive to Mariah's words, and Derek can predict what Mariah will say. So I guess, obviously very in tune with her. Derek is comfortable with Mariah, and they both fit well in each other's lives, which is interesting because we saw a lot of Derek seeing Mariah as unreliable and unpredictable and everything. So I wonder if maybe at a certain point it was, working quite well, but maybe after some time it just didn't work. Derek's Mercury overlaid in Mariah's 3rd house. Derek is more chatty around Mariah, and Derek enjoys long conversations with Mariah. Mariah will enjoy conversations with Derek. So no aspects for Mercury, so now we're straight on to Venus. So they're Venus signs. We have Mariah's in Aries and Derek's in Gemini. They both see love as something fun, and they are both present in this relationship. Yeah, they seem to be. It seems like in terms of their sort of long-term goals, there is a bit of detachment, you could say. Mariah literally being wanting to be detached, independent. Seems like Derek wanted to be a bit more sort of stable, settled down and all of that. They both allow the other to be an individual outside of the relationship. Potentially, Derek wanted that. Because I know we've been seeing a lot of, he seems to find Mariah very unpredictable, wants traditional. Mariah wants to overcome Derek's tradition and all of that. Potentially there was that. Mariah just didn't want the whole package, you could say. She just wanted a certain part of it, her independence, and that's it. Derek loves satisfying conversation with Mariah, and Mariah finds it draining to have lengthy conversations, which is interesting because we saw Derek enjoys long conversations, but we didn't necessarily Mariah does. Mariah is impatient with Derek, and it's a relationship of instability. Their attraction to each other fluctuates, which we kind of have been seeing on both ends. They both need to learn to slow down with each other, and Derek may find Mariah shallow. Again, not really surprising. I feel it kind of ties back to him viewing her as a bit more on the selfish side than not. Mariah's Venus overlaid in Derek's 5th house. Mariah sees Derek as perfect. I think, was it Derek that she referred to as sort of being the first love she ever had or something like that? I think that was Derek, so kind of makes sense in that context. They are both satisfied here, and Mariah is forgiving of Derek's faults. Derek appreciates the admiration from Mariah, and Derek may take advantage of Mariah. This is why I'm a bit funny with Mariah feeling emotionally insecure, and feeling trapped over time. I wonder whether it's subconscious or conscious, there were some similarities, even if they were a little, to Mariah. And her whole relationship with Tommy, I should finish that. Derek's Venus overlaid in Mariah's 1st house. Derek is attracted to Mariah, and Mariah is flattered by Derek. Derek enjoys being seen with Mariah, and Mariah over time may not appreciate the shallow admiration. Interesting. Derek doesn't pay attention to the regular Mariah. I wonder if maybe this is where, Mariah could be feeling the similarities play between Tommy and Derek. Because I think this was kind of a similar, type of relationship. From what I know with Tommy, I'm pretty sure there was an element of, him really viewing her as a trophy wife, essentially, and ideal rather than who she really was. I think that was a part of that. Mariah's Venus opposite Derek's Uranus. It's a spontaneous and sudden relationship, and unexpected events bring them together. They feel they cannot rely on each other. It's not really surprising, this wasn't meant to last, is what I'm getting from this. Derek may resent Mariah's desire for commitment. That's interesting. They are separated at times, and it's an emotional roller coaster for Mariah. Which, if we're going with the context of she feels a bit more like emotionally insecure, feels trapped because there are those potential similarities between her and Derek, I'm sure that will not be fun for her. Derek's Venus trine Mariah's Jupiter. Mariah appreciates Derek as a friend, and they're a popular couple. They see the good in each other and they share inside jokes. I wonder if they did start as friends, because we did see mutual friends bring them together and unexpected events. So I wonder if through some mutual, friend events or something, they make each other feel more confident, and they're a financially abundant couple, a little wealthier. They thrive in each other's company, and Derek improves Mariah's social life. Which, if he takes her out of the relationship with Tommy, who was pretty controlling and everything, that would kind of get it out there again, so to speak. Derek's Venus trine Mariah's Uranus. The relationship seems odd to outsiders. I'm not sure, what the thoughts are of the public. But I feel if I was, Mariah's friend, not necessarily odd, but, it's risky, isn't it? It's not long-term, and they enjoy experimenting together. There is an element of fate, which we did see how unexpected events bring them together. So I don't know, it could have been some weird thing, Mariah Derek stepped in for a friend or something at an event or something like that, and that kind of was the element of fate. They share unusual interests, and it's an unconventional setup. Derek is drawn to Mariah's unique qualities, and Mariah finds Derek charming and attractive. Derek's Venus opposite Mariah's Neptune. Derek may prefer to idealize Mariah. Nice. Derek is so caught up in love he doesn't know Mariah. This worries me and kind of plays into the certain part of Tommy where he, with Mariah kind of idealized her as well. She was my perfect trophy wife. So I wonder if maybe this part of Derek really set off Mariah. Mariah doesn't like Derek's idealization, and Mariah needs to be careful of promising too much. Mariah has a hard time being realistic with Derek, which I don't really blame her as such. If you're in this very toxic relationship and then you effectively have a knight in shining armor, but then you also, a part of you wanting to escape is to have your own career and everything. You're not necessarily in the best headspace to necessarily communicate effectively or to even know what you really want. They both find it difficult to stay, and neither can define what attracts them to the other. Lies occur to protect from the pain. It's not great. In a way, this isn't a horrible relationship. I can't imagine doing a reading on Mariah and Tommy. That would be wild. But there is a bit of it's just not meant to be, I guess. It's very chaotic, because we have been seeing a lot of that too. So now it's time for Mars. We have Mariah's Mars in Sagittarius and Derek's Mars in Leo. These are both fire signs. Mariah thinks Derek is too defensive, and it's a passionate and adventurous relationship. That's one way to summarize it. Derek wants admiration from Mariah. Which could be potentially, I don't know how Derek interprets love, because we did see how Derek tends to admire, idealize Mariah. So I wonder if that's just his love language, for a lack of better words, just being idealized. It's not coming from a malicious place. Mariah's Mars overlaid in Derek's first house. Mariah inspires Derek to be more brave, and Mariah encourages Derek to be proud of who he is. Mariah is blunt with Derek, I think, in certain ways. Obviously, I think in long-term goals, I don't think that's really talked about here. Every time we're seeing it, it's just, they're not aligned. Derek has the desire to seduce Mariah. Interesting. So I guess he had some intentions when potentially meeting her, after a few times of meeting her. Derek's Mars overlaid in Mariah's fourth house. Derek pushes Mariah out of her comfort zone, so I imagine he really, inspired her to sort of get out of her, Tommy Mottola situation. Derek can't provide the peace Mariah wants. Yeah, I wonder if, she escaped and then kind of, I don't want to say, because I don't think anything particularly bad happened with Derek. I wonder if she was just so like damaged. You know, it's like, you know, a burn victim. You know, they're not it's not like they're continuously burned, but they're just a bit more sensitive because, you know, they've literally been burnt before. And a lot, even the smallest likely touch will just like, you know, irritate them or whatever you like to call it. So I wonder if that is, you know, what I guess effectively happened. Derek feels flustered around Mariah. I think we're seeing again, and Mariah is nurturing to Derek. Mariah creates a safe space for Derek, which I think kind of goes back. We did see like a point of like Mariah subconsciously falling into Derek's, a role of being Derek's parent. So I'll move that way. Arguments are heated due to being defensive and emotional. Their Mars signs are trined together, so they give each other confidence and they're in sync. They challenge each other to do their best and they feel they can do anything together, which is why I imagine Mariah would have taken up on the inspiration she was hit with with Derek. There's direct communication and there's healthy competition. They do physical activities together, which potentially could be more, I don't want to say like heisty activities, but I think I don't know if Derek was the one, but I'm pretty sure Mariah did like have some sort of like, you know, adventures is not the right word, but I guess, how do I put it, situations where she had to like literally be in the getaway car and everything. I'm pretty sure like she had to do some wild, you know, activities like that. So I don't know if Derek was a part of that, but that's there. They energize the other when they are feeling low. Mariah's Mars conjunct Derek's Neptune. Mariah may resent Derek for not giving her enough space, which, you know, goes to the whole like independence thing and all of that. She seems to be naturally independent and the different life goals, but potentially also it could be another thing, like it just really offsets her, like anything that reminds her of like Tommy. Mariah is fascinated by Derek's ethereal mindset and they are both humanitarians, which we did see how they both like support people in need, so that's there. Derek sees Mariah as a knight in shining armor. Interesting. I wonder what was going on in his life. I know where like there's a lot of context of like Mariah and everything here. Potentially I am biased because like I know a bit more about that. But I'm not sure if like anything, you know, in Derek's life was happening at this point. There's not a lot of indicators of that to me anyway, so definitely let me know your thoughts below if you're a bit more of a fan of Derek, know a bit more about him. Derek is likely to become dependent on Mariah. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I'd be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. Definitely let me know your interpretations, particularly, like, as I said, if you know a bit more about Derek and everything, because I feel like, you know, I did a bit more focus on, like, I ended up focusing a bit more on, like, Mariah and everything and, like, her sort of, like, story in the relationship, if that makes sense. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings twice a week. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye!